So, welcome to the webinar, Reducing Your Anxiety and Transforming It into Vital Energy. My name is Oscar Segurado. I am a neuroscientist. I am an immunologist. And I've been working in the area of anxiety for many years, especially when I worked in and developed a book and a technology or a practice called mindful framing. Let me give you a few housekeeping details about the webinar today. It's going to be recorded, and that's why maybe you don't need to take many notes. Many of them are also available in my book, in my website, neuroscience.org, and a number of resources that I'm providing. We are planning to have a number of webinars. This is the first one. And I'm extremely happy to be able to help you and many others to deal with anxiety. We are going to work today together, and I'm going to give you some very practical tips on how to deal with anxiety in the moment. Is what is called situational anxiety. We're also going to talk about something more generic, which is chronic anxiety, and I'm going to explain you how everything works. Very important is to start really in a way today so that we can all be ready for this about 45 minutes of my conversation with you. And I call it conversation because you have the chat potential at the bottom. You can put questions there while I'm speaking, and I'm going to handle them after my about 45 minutes of presentation. And then I'm also going to give you the chance. I'm going to unmute you so that you will be able to directly ask questions and discuss everything with me. First of all, let me start saying something very simple. Our life is tremendously overwhelming. We all need to ensure that we are able to cope with everything that is happening around us, definitely the pandemic and everything associated to that, and all our thoughts and fears and all type of emotions that everything is happening on top of everything that you probably already were experiencing in early this year. So we have to deal with a lot. And among those aspects is the fact that our brain is working incessantly and producing up to 50,000 thoughts per day, which many of them are circular, negative, and repetitive. So I'm going to start just giving you some very simple tricks that can help you on what is called situational anxiety. What is situational anxiety? Situational anxiety is something that happens in any normal day, in any normal situation, when you are confronting a certain experience or a thought that simply appears or reappears in your mind. And let me start by ensuring that you all are going to be ready for what we're going to be doing today in terms of this exercise. Let's start by relaxing, but relaxing doing a relaxation exercise a little bit different to the ones that you probably have heard about. We're going to start relaxing our scalp and our face and our jaw. And I would like you to really take a moment and start thinking about your entire head and start slowly softening all the muscles. Believe it or not, these are muscles that are really putting lots of pressure on you. And this is maybe, and this is a little bit kind of holistic, avoiding that you have a relaxed type of thinking and connection with the universe. So if we relax the muscles, and let's do that together with the scalp. Think about your scalp. Start relaxing it. You can get some help by breathing, inhaling and exhaling in depth. And while you do that, you're going to feel that you're more present, and you're going to be able to absorb everything that we're going to be discussing today. Again, let's start by relaxing our scalp muscles. This is difficult, just think about that. And now move into your face. Hundreds of muscles in your face. Just, I cannot do that because I'm speaking and I'm talking with you, but I want you to relax those muscles, and especially the ones that are around the jaw. The jaw is very important, obviously, for eating, speaking, for many things. But in this case, let's relax those muscles. I'm going to give you a few seconds to ensure that you go through that process. Again, inhaling and exhaling while you're working on that. This is the number one step to getting into an activation of the vagus or vagus nerve. The vagus nerve goes from the brain to the entire body, and it communicates through the so-called autonomous nervous system to all our muscles in our body, including the muscles in the heart and those that mobilize the lungs, the diaphragm. So how do we do that? How do we activate the vagus nerve? And I'm going to tell you how to do that. Because the moment that you follow my instructions and do that right now, you're going to learn a way to control situational anxiety right away, like this. And let me tell you something that I've been doing for years now. And this is a way to control my high blood pressure. Obviously, I take medication, but the moment that I do what I'm going to tell you right now, I see my blood pressure and my heartbeat going down by at least 20%. So how do we do that? We're going to stretch the vagus nerve. And the way we're going to do that is that we're going to take now remember, we have a relaxed scalp, face, jaw, but now we are going to stretch and activate the muscles in our neck and our spine. We're going to stretch them. You're going to put your head to the back as much as you can, without really, obviously, feeling any pain, but just ensuring that you're going to the back. And while you do that, you're going to take your hand and you're going to put that on top of your belly, and you're now going to also inhale deeply. While you do that, we are really doing this stretching. And I'm going to, again, spend a few moments where you are going to do that exercise. Again, bringing your head to the back, stretching your neck this way and your spine, and at the same time, inhaling and exhaling slowly and deeply. Let's do that another time. Excellent. Now we are ready to be in the present moment and to hear about situational anxiety versus chronic stress and anxiety, and how to deal with them. Now, let me start giving you the key parameters of what we're going to be discussing today. Besides this emergency brake that we just discussed, something that you can use when you're about to have an interview or when you think that you need help because you are in a very difficult or uncontrollable situation. The reality is that we have in our lives a number of experiences and thoughts that really are compounding one over another, and they're making, again, our life very challenging and difficult. Why is that happening? Why do we have this very difficult environment that we, as very high level and highly intelligent beings, human beings, cannot control? The explanation, and I'm telling you that from the perspective of a neuroscientist and immunologist, and someone that has been also working a lot in holistic medicine, is because we have three different levels in our brain. The first level is what is called the neocortex, or the frontal lobes, which are the ones that we use continuously to deal with everything that we have to do, with all the activities, with all the thoughts, with all the planning. Everything goes through this cortex, through this area in our brain that is really taking all the impulses coming from the exterior and from the interior, and is practically compounding all this information to create new actions, new ideas, new potential for what we want to do. Now, there is a second brain. This is called the mammalian brain. This mammalian brain is the one that also is in all mammals, is the one that really led to the development of herds, the development of mini societies, first even within animals, and of course in humanity. This is what makes us working and being all together one with another. Now, what we want to ensure that we understand is that when we have any kind of input coming from the intellectual area into the emotional brain, that's when we want to be able to regulate and control those emotions associated with ideas from the exterior or from inside us. That's when we are able to identify how to react and how to have these kind of emotions to this kind of activity that is going in our brain. Now, there is a third level in our brain. It's the reptilian brain. The reptilian brain is the one that is related to reflexes. When we have a lizard and we step on top of it, the lizard is going to fly away. This is in humans also, we have the flight or fight response. All this is absolutely essential for us to understand, to see how we really can manage any situation. The moment that we have a number of thoughts that are compounding and going on top of each other and are creating this kind of uncontrolled way of going around our brain, that's when we have chronic stress. And let me use this juggle ball to explain you again how this works. This is a thought, okay? Imagine this ball. I'm going to explain you how a thought works. You have this blue color, which means that this is, again, experiences, or this is ideas, thoughts that go into the higher brain, into our cortex. The moment that we have all these experiences or ideas, we process them, and with that information, we're able to take action or simply do whatever we are doing in a regular way. Now, these thoughts in general are neutral. They don't really create any kind of emotion. So this is just the area where we are taking action. We're taking that from an intellectual perspective. But the moment that some of these thoughts go into the next stage, which is our mammalian brain, that's the emotional part of our brain. And when they go into that area, this emotional brain, which is the hypothalamus and limbic system, for those of you that are interested in the details, are able to have two types of responses. One of them is to have a positive response. This is the green kind of response. This is good. This is exactly what we want to have, and as much as we can. These are emotions like love, compassion, gratitude. It's a positive response, and we should leave them there. So this is a good way to really maintain inside our brain all these type of good sensations that are going to really bring happiness, well-being to us. Now, there is also the possibility that some of these emotions are going to create a negative response. They're going to be in red. And those are the ones that sometimes is unavoidable. So these are going to be type of emotions that are going to impact the way we see life around us. If that happens very often, we may lose control of those emotions, because what we want to do is at least being able to transform them into neutral emotions. There are several ways to do this. We can do that through the so-called emotional intelligence, and there are many ways to work on that. We can also do that through meditation or different other practices. Or sometimes some people require medication, or some people require maybe even medical treatment. Now, the moment that we have these red emotions, and these red type of emotions go to the next level in our brain, which is the reptilian brain, the brain starts to send signals throughout the organism, throughout the body, especially in terms of the nervous system, through the autonomous nervous system and through the sympathetic nerves. These are exactly the contrary to the nerves that we discussed and we were stretching at the beginning of our conversation, which was the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve runs a number of branches throughout the body that produce relaxation. This type of relaxation is the one that we want to acquire while we are doing, for instance, the stretching I mentioned previously with our neck and with our breathing. Now, if we are not able to do that, there is going to be a number of signals that go through the sympathetic nervous system, and it's going to produce sweating in our hands, palpitations, and even in our brain, they are going to start having a number of circular, repetitive, and negative thoughts. This we don't want to have. So we want to avoid that. In addition, there are a number of neurohormones that are going to have a very negative effect throughout our body. The most important one is cortisol. And this is going to even depress our immune system. So that's why when people have a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, they are also going to be more prone to infections, to autoimmunity, autoimmune diseases, and to cancer. Obviously, that's over time. So that's why it's so important to be able to control all these very difficult situation that is happening in our brain. It's very important for, and obviously that I'm a doctor. I am really passionate about neurology and neuroscience and how it is linked to all the functions of our body, especially the immune system. But I think that everyone needs at least a kind of basic knowledge about how all that works. Once we understand that situation, we have to realize how important it is to really work on that. And this is where the Neo-Chi lifestyle comes into place. So when I experienced an incredibly tough situation in October 2014, I didn't know about all this that I'm telling you right now. I was not even thinking, as you can see here, about ideas that were developed over 5,000 years ago in India, in China, traditions like Chinese medicine or Ayurvedic medicine that were also helping people to deal with all kind of circumstances. I was more thinking in modern art and the way we are seeing our world, which is kind of taking a distance from all these ideas. In October 2014, my elder son had a nervous breakdown, so serious that he had to stop going to college, and he had to receive medical attention. I was at the time at the top of my career in biotechnology. I work in gene therapy, in cell therapy, in technologies that are absolutely essential. And I had to take a break. I had to take a break because I realized that I had something called high functioning anxiety. This is also when you have this kind of red zone situation, but you don't even notice. Why you don't notice that? Because you are so busy with everything around you. You work with your family, with your ideas, with the, politics, whatever. Many things going on, and you don't really take a moment to think about yourself. So in 2014, I came back to some ideas that I had when I was in medical school, and I did some training on acupuncture. I learned about our traditional Chinese medicine, and I also did transcendental meditation. So I started speaking with a number of people that were also doctors like me, but also thought that there is something that we can learn from these very ancient cultures. And the way I did that is that I started speaking with very well-known physicians that also went through that path. One of them was Deepak Chopra, with whom I met several times in his office in Carlsbad, California. And we met in several meetings, and he was the one that recommended me to put my ideas in writing and start and write that book. So with him, also with Brian Weiss, who is someone who working also a psychiatrist working on regression therapy, also with Bruce Lipton and Dan Goleman, who is the, let's call it, inventor of emotional intelligence. So I took as benchmarks physicians that also thought that there is something that we were missing in Occidental, in Western medicine. So while doing that, I started to realize that there are many practices out there, and I'm sure that many of you do meditation, yoga, or other activities. But the problem of all that is that these were practices that worked extraordinarily well thousands of years ago, when life was not so complex, when things were not so difficult as they are today. People really had time to really reflect or do this type of meditation. But nowadays we don't have the time. Our brain, at least my brain, was not able to really spend 10 minutes even just focusing on my breathing and trying to clear my mind. I could not, I still cannot clear my mind. So that's why I developed mindful framing, which is in my book, and is available for free to download the Kindle version. It's in Spanish and in English, and anyone can really learn this technique or this practice just by ensuring that you follow certain principles that are described there. So the key of mindful framing is that, first of all, you have to find time. You have to find time for yourself. And it sounds like obvious, but the reality is that the majority of us do not do that. I'm just asking for 1% of the time in your 24-hour day. 1% is about 15 minutes. Every day has 1,440 minutes. So 15 minutes is about 1%. If you take these 15 minutes and you can divide it into morning, afternoon, or night, you are going to be able to really, over time, start developing a framework in your mind that is going to help you deal with anxiety and stress. It's also connected to what I call neo-chi lifestyle. So there is no quick fix for chronic anxiety and stress. You really need to work on that. You really need to find that time. And I have a recipe. So that's why I'm so keen on sharing all these ideas with you and with others. And everything is in the framework of a nonprofit Neo-Chi Institute, where I'm providing all this information for all of you. And I always appreciate, like what we are doing right here, your feedback, your ideas, and your opinions. Now, let me spend a moment on what is mindful framing, and then a little bit on what is Neo-Chi. Mindful framing is a visualization process. And let me explain you a little bit what is visualization, which seems obvious. I mean, visualization is be able to see with the eye of your mind. And let me do here a quick exercise, an exercise where we're going to go through what I call the first step on these 5 steps that are part of mindful framing. If possible, these 15 minutes early in the morning, but it can do also, it can be done throughout the day. Is what I call the anxiety bus. The anxiety bus is a local bus that you can imagine in your mind, but you are the driver of that bus. And in that bus, you're going to to allocate certain seats and even the central walkway, where you're going to put there all your problems, either as people or caricatures of situations that you have. So all that is happening in your mind. And I explain that with illustrations and with ideas how to do that. You also have in that bus someone that is observing the entire situation. And this is someone that is part of the storyline that I describe in the book. So let's do this exercise now. Let's do the exercise of the anxiety bus right now. And we're going to start just by taking your hand, and you're going to put your finger on your palm. You're going to close your palm on first this one and then the other one. Now, when you do this, and this is my position, you are going now to think that you are driving a bus. You are driving your anxiety bus. So if you move it a little bit, you're going to have that impression. Now close your eyes. I'm not going to close them because I want to make sure that I keep track of all of you. But if you close your eyes right now, you can imagine, or please go into that bus, the bus that you think in your mind, and imagine that you're getting closer to a bus stop. The moment that you get close to that bus stop, you're going to see there one person. You're going to see there one person that is very important in your life. One person. Imagine that person, for whatever reason, is very important in your life. And you're going to stop the bus in your mind. Everything is happening in your mind. This is a visualization exercise. The moment that you do that, you're going to see how this person enters the bus and goes to the right side of the bus. He's sitting there. This is someone that is important, and it brings, in general, good vibes. It's a positive person, an impact in your life. Now, while you're the driver of the bus, you're seeing this person coming in. You are even nodding to this person. You see this person going there. You can even look into the rear view mirror. And this is the first person that you're sitting in your bus. Now you keep going, and you're going to also start putting in that bus other people. I have 2 people always that I put is in the left side of the bus, which are very important to me. And these are people that I take care of. So I put them in the bus, they sit there, And then I include other people from work, from my friendships. And they are all on the left side. On the right side, as this person, very important for me, and that brings lots of positive vibes, is him and other people that are absolutely important there. So that's the exercise. Now you can open your eyes. Maybe you had it open before. But the point here is that when we start with this exercise, with the anxiety bus at the beginning of the day, you are able to practically create a framework for anything that can happen during the day to you. So you are going to be able to control all those experiences coming from the outside, but also from the inside. That's where I put sometimes people in the walkway, in the center of the bus. This is where people are standing, and it could be even I don't know, someone that is supposed to do some work at home, and the plumber. And when you do that, you practically are creating a framework for all these situations. And during the day, sometimes I also take situations that are tough or difficult, and I put them in my anxiety bus. What happens also through this exercise is that at some point you let the bus keep going. You practically press a button, it's an autopilot, you leave the bus, and you see the bus going and turning the corner. So this simple exercise is something unique in the sense that you are not going to see that in any other type of practice, because people tell you that you have to avoid thoughts, you have to clear your mind. I'm telling you not to do that. I'm telling you to take and confront your problems, confront your experiences head on. That's key. Now, I'm not going to go into many other details of the other 5 steps of mindful framing, but I will describe them briefly for you. The second is to enhance your senses. You take your 5 senses, which are touch, sight, smell, taste, and hearing, and you follow certain steps so that you really enhance and notice them. They are extraordinarily important because this is the way we capture the world. And once you do that, you go into the 3 key elements of mindful framing that also are the introduction to the Neo-Chi lifestyle. What is NEO? Is nature, emotions, and organism. So you go through 5 steps that are related to connecting with nature. And let me spend a moment here. It seems obvious, it seems easy. Okay, yes, we have nature around us. We can go to a park, we can go on vacation to a very nice place. But what happens very often? People are in very beautiful spaces and their mind is still going on. So they are not really able to be present and to acquire and to connect with nature. I explain also in my book one way to do that, which I also transfer to other areas. And this is using something coming from Ayurvedic medicine. And these are the 5 elements of Ayurveda. And this is something that is in nature. And it's also inside us. It's also in people around us. These are these 5 elements that are absolutely critical and are even incorporated into the famous equation from Einstein, E equal mc squared. Energy, mass, and light speed. Energy is fire. Mass is earth. C is air and is space-time, air and water, and then there's the ether. So these are the 5 elements of Ayurveda. And I explain in my book and also in a number of resources in my website how to really use these 5 elements to connect with nature. Absolutely critical here. Absolutely critical, because the moment that we learn how to go out, even take a walk outside, even here in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, we have at-home orders, but we are all allowed to leave our homes and to go for a walk. And I try to spend as much time as I can doing that, something very simple. And if I cannot, if I were in a hospital, if I were in my bed, and I were not able to do that, I would use my mind. I would ensure that I do this visualization so that I really connect with nature. It can be done. Now, the next step is emotions. And I'm not going to go into detail, but this is emotional intelligence, very nicely described by my good friend, Daniel Goleman. The book is Emotional Intelligence. He has Emotional Intelligence 2.0. But the key here is to be able to regulate your emotions. And I explained how it works with our thoughts. So the key here is to ensure that we get to understand ourselves. So this is self-awareness, number one. And second, to have empathy for others. It sounds easy, simple. These are the two elements of emotional intelligence. First, you need to know yourself, to be self-aware. And second, you need to be able to understand and connect with others. So to do that requires also hard work. I don't think that especially the first one, self-awareness, is something that people usually do, because again, you need these 15 minutes. You need this time to start analyzing yourself. I can tell you I did that because I even wrote a book. And while doing that, I had to go very deep into my situation. I also had to deal with my personal high functioning anxiety, with the situation with my son, the connections with my family, with my friends at work. And I needed time, and I use that. So I want to encourage everyone to work on themselves. And then when you are with others, try to lose a little bit your ego and connect really with the others, listening, understanding how other people think and what are the real needs. So this is the second one. This is the fourth stage, or scene, I call it, because everything is happening in the mind through visualization. The fifth scene is the organism. From neo is nature, emotions, and organism. Organism is the body, how our body works. And I as an immunologist, I can tell you that it's not just the body that we see outside, and people are very concerned or looking into how is their appearance, and they see their skin. They know that we have obviously a number of organs, but they don't think on something absolutely critical, and this is that we have trillions of cells in our body, and each of these cells is almost a complete living organism. Each of these cells is really taking on all the negative hormones that may be in circulation, cortisol, or even excess of dopamine or adrenaline. So we need to care for our body from the perspective of the cell. And let me spend a moment on one of our cells. And I use for that this. This is a T cell. It's a white lymphocyte. I'm an immunologist, and I understand how things work here. So this T cell, or white blood cell, has again an incredible capability to defend us from coronaviruses and from even cancer. But if this cell is not treated well, if we don't think about our nutrition, exercising, ensuring also that we reduce our stress levels, this cell is going to suffer. So here is the way I present that. Remember when we were talking about the thoughts? If we have this red thought, is going to be transformed into cortisol. It's going to be transformed into all types of neurotransmitters that are going to also not be so good for those cells that are extraordinarily sensitive. So this cell is going to eat it up in some way, and while it does it, it's going to transform potentially into a lymphocyte that is going to, in this case, be negative for our body. This is autoimmunity. This is the way this T cell is now going to attack your own body. And that's why people have sometimes skin rashes. So this same T cell that is able to defend us is also going to produce a very negative effect in our bodies. So that's why I think I try to explain how we should treat our body from the perspective of the cell, of the immune cell, as one of them. Obviously, there are neurons, there are liver cells, there are kidney cells, there are many other cells, but these cells are the ones that we don't see, but we should be thinking about. We should be thinking, for instance, that excess of alcohol, especially when you reach a certain age, is going to really harm the liver cells. And the liver cells are essential for practically working and manufacturing proteins and delivering good stuff for our bodies. So we need to think on those perspectives. So that's what I call, when you see these three stages of NEO, nature, emotion, and organism, this is the base of the Neo-Chi lifestyle. Neo-Chi lifestyle means really something extraordinarily simple. It means that we start thinking about habits, ceremonies, rituals, something that really drives our life from the beginning of the day, when we start our day in the morning, how you start really waking up slowly, and then potentially doing some exercise, stretching, potentially doing some yoga at some time during the day, and then having all day, and this is what I've been doing in the past few years, going around your sleep. Give your sleep the most important, consider your sleep the most important part of your day. It's the night. I think you're obviously sleeping. You are not feeling anything. But if you get ready for sleeping, if you spend the couple of hours before you go to sleep, or even half an hour, and you avoid alcohol, you avoid TV, you just read a little bit of a book, you also get relaxed, you ensure that you don't have stimuli really, then you're going to have a very good type of sleep recovery, and then the morning is going to be different. So this is one example of many that I provide in my book and through all the details of the Neo-Chi lifestyle. What I'm going to be doing, starting with this webinar today, is that I'm going to go into some of the details of what I just discussed. And I'm going to take that from the two perspectives that you see here, from the perspective of neuroscience, immunology, which is tremendously important nowadays, ensure that our immune system is ready for this pandemic, and also ensuring that I also take the teachings from the ancient cultures. So combining all that, I'm going to, in a monthly basis, going to have specific webinars. And the next webinar in about 1 month is going to be about the immune system. I just want to remind you that I'm an immunologist. I'm a professor of immunology in a university in Spain. So that's why you notice my accent. And I will be giving you lots of ideas and description of what is the coronavirus, and how it is, how the vaccines work. But I'm going to give you also some ideas that are going to be relevant for everyone to deal with this situation and ensure that we are able to increase the potency and optimize our immune system. So with that, I will open the floor for questions. I am unmuting all of you, and any of you that want to ask any question, or if you don't trust, you can put that in chat. The question can be related to anything that I discuss here, or anything in relation to future webinars, or the way it works with our offers here. And again, I want to repeat, and I want to reiterate that I have a full-time job. I'm chief medical officer of a biotech company here in the Bay Area. We're working on patients that have very serious rare diseases. One is hemophilia A, another one is something called graft versus host disease, which are patients that receive a bone marrow transplantation and don't respond well. And this type of gene therapies and cell therapies is something that we are developing, so that I feel I am in a very good position to discuss with you immunology and give you lots of good ideas about that. So with that, again, the floor is open. Anyone would like to ask any question? It can be also something related to the way you see anxiety for yourself or for others. And I also would like to remind you that the only place where we potentially have some fees are for one-on-one conversations or consultations. First of all, and I'm going to repeat first, put yourself first. It's like when you are in a plane and they say, okay, put your mask on. They always tell you, put your mask on first before helping others. And this is what you have to do if you really want to help friends and family or anyone that in need of support for any kind of anxiety situation. Help yourself. Ensure that you are covered. Ensure that you have all this time for self-reflection, for especially self-awareness. That's number one. Number two is less is more. We're usually adding to our life stuff. We do more and more and more. And this is not just at work. It's also because we volunteer or we want to follow whatever episode on a series that we're interested, or we have hobbies, and we have to kind of hit some aspects that we think are important in our lives. We have to reduce and simplify our lives. We have to be more minimalist. Obviously, we need to bring food put food on the table, and we need to make money. I understand that. But we sometimes are putting our lives into a very difficult situation when we are lacking time for reflection and time for really spending time with others in a relaxed manner. So second is less is more. And finally, the key for your success, and I recommend that you download the free book. By the way, it's in Spanish and in English, but I see all the names here are English, I have the impression. But you are going to see that the key is that you take your book and you put that in your nightstand. And you start reading just small pieces of it. You don't need to do everything at the same time. I understand and I know my mindful framing practice is complex. It needs to require a lot of memorization. I've memorized that already. Of course, I read that, and I'm helping many people doing that too. But the key is to create habits and routines. Ensure that you have a kind of a schedule in the evening and in the morning especially, where you have certain activities that are going to get you ready for, and as I mentioned a moment ago, for me, sleeping is one of the top times in my life. Okay, so with that, I just would like to really thank you for this opportunity to chat with us. We're recording this session, and we're going to make it available in YouTube, so that you will be able to look into that and share it. I also suggest, and I would appreciate if you join our mailing list in neochi.org, so that we will be able to communicate with you and letting you know about all our free activities. So yeah, I see one comment here from Kristen. Thank you for your time. I really enjoyed your talk. Again, thank you everyone for this opportunity to speak with you. And let's stay in touch.